Hi, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to be turning this wall into a place where I can mount all my woodworking tools, and I'm going to be using some common wood cladding techniques that you can use at home in your own projects. Stay tuned. Okay, so the plan is to turn this wall behind me into an attractive backdrop for my videos for you guys, but also give me easy access to my tools when I need them. So I'm going to have it right behind me, and I'm going to have a bench here, and I can easily access all the tools that I'm going to need. Okay, so the first job is going to be to get rid of all that stuff that's on the back of the wall, which I'm not going to bore you with. Great, so now we can get started. Okay, so on this side, my CNC lid needs a certain amount of room here. So that's going to sort of limit me to where I can go on this side. So on this side, I've got these shelves, and they're going to limit me on how far I can go over this way. However, I don't want to go over that far anyway. I want to stay more centered around this area here. Okay, so based on them two things, I can now measure out how big I want this thing to be on the wall and what is going to be an optimal size for the room. Like I say, ultimately I don't want it to be too big. I just want it to be big enough so I can mount all my tools on there, and eventually when I get a logo, I want to put a logo on the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a tape measure here, and I'm going to take some measurements and work out sort of a rough size of what I want, so that when I go to the hardware store to buy the materials, I've got some dimensions in my head. Okay, so I'm pretty sure at the hardware store they do lengths of wood that are 2 meters long. If I was to cut them in half, that'd be 1 meter. And I think 1 meter would fit on this wall quite nicely. That's going to be like that kind of dimensions there. The height, I'm not sure yet. I don't think I need to go all the way to the bottom, because I'm not going to be grabbing tools down here anyway. And at the top, I want my logo there anyway, so I might stop here somewhere like that, and then maybe have a circle logo eventually that goes up there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rush down to the hardware store and get some supplies and whatnot. I'll get some paint as well, because I'm going to paint the wall. I'll be right back. Told you I won't be long. Okay, so let's just go through what I brought exactly. So I got these painting supplies here, and they're going to, obviously, I'm going to paint the wall white. And this is the main beef of the project. I've got 2 packs of this cladding lumber, and they are that size. And then I've got 3 battens as well, which I'm going to be using to mount it all to the wall. And I also picked up 2 of these little edge strips, which I'm going to use to cover the end grain on the sides when it's all mounted up. Okay, so the first job is obviously going to be to paint the wall. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to time lapse you through that. That's going to be like an hour, 2 hours work for me. You're going to skip through it in like 10 seconds. Okay, so it's now the next day. The wall's dried and it looks like a white wall. Looks fine. What do you want me to say? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the battens, and then we're going to get the battens mounted to the wall, all lined up nicely, and then we will mount the cladding on the front in the tongue groove that I showed you before. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the laser set up, so that is going to be where the centre batten is going to sit. That's going to give me enough room to open my CNC lid on this side, and it's not going to protrude over this side too much. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the battens mounted up. But if you don't have a laser like I do, don't worry about it. There is another way you can do it with just a normal spirit level and a piece of string. I'll talk about that a little later. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the battens all mounted to the wall. You're probably noticing that I've changed t-shirt and the drill changed mid-shot there. That is because the first drill I had, basically these walls they're concrete and they're really solid. Because I'm in a basement, there's the whole house above us, so these walls are really solid. They're the hardest walls in the house pretty much. And the drill I had was not man enough for the job, so I went and borrowed a Hilti, and that just cut through it like butter. But anyway, as you can see, the battens are mounted, and they're mounted perfectly vertical like this, but they are not a flat plain surface. So what I've got set up over here, I've got a laser level over here, and if I shine up to the ceiling, you can see it's throwing a laser across the top of the ceiling here parallel to the wall. So I've got, if I measure here, I've got 100 mil over here, and over here I've got the same thing, 100 mil to the wall, so that this laser is perfectly level to the wall. That enables me to be able to take a measurement anywhere on the wall, and I should be able to get a perfectly flat and plain surface. So I'm going to do that now. But you're probably wondering, like I said before, you can do this with a spirit level, so how would you do that? Well, first of all, you would mount these perfectly level and straight, as I've done with a spirit level, which is not easy, not hard at all. And then you would get a piece of string, and you would mount a string from this post here across to this post. And as soon as you bring this middle post out to that piece of string, it's got to be at the same level. And you do that at the top, at the bottom, and if you want to, you can do it in the middle as well. And that will also enable you to get a perfectly flat and plain surface if you don't have a laser. And if you're wondering what screws and fixings I use to mount this all to the wall, I use these plugs right here. They are Hilti plugs, they're 6mm. They look like this. And the screws I used are 4.5 by 80, just looking at them on the table. They just look like that. They're basically, they've got no thread on the top here, so that they grab more into the wall than they do into the wood outside. I will do another video in the future on how to fix stuff to walls and screws and mounting stuff and all stuff like that. But for now, that's what I've used. I just thought I'd show you. And you're probably wondering, once I've got all this a measurement where I need to pack this out away from the wall, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to use some of these, and these are just little bits of scrap wood basically, and now I've got them in all different thicknesses, as you can see, for how much I need to pack it away from the wall. So let's just take some quick measurements here, and I have already done this, so I'm going to skip to the beef of the story. Up here we've got 56mm up here on this top left corner. Now on this bottom right corner down here, I've almost got 60 if you look there. So that means there's 4mm difference between that corner and this corner. So if I was just to clad it, which I probably could in this case, because it's not something that needs to be perfectly level. At the end of the day, I'm only going to be mounting my tools on here, but it would have a twist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack it out at the top left here, and then wherever else it needs to be packed out to get it all perfectly flat. Okay, so as you can see, there's now little packers in the behind the framework to pack it out. Basically, what I've done is, like I said before, I use this to make a measurement, and I use the spacers, which are on the table down here, just to pack it out as much as I needed to. Another thing to note as well is it's always good to have 2 points of reference. So I've got one is the laser, and the second one I've got a straight edge down here. So this edge here I can just put against the wall anywhere, and as long as it touches on all 3 points, then I know it's a perfectly flat surface. Now I know that's not going to be a viable option if this is a lot bigger than just 3 battens, but it's always good to have at least 2 references. Another way you could do it again would be with a piece of string. Put a piece of string across and put some tension on it, and as long as there's the same distance between the piece of string and the battens, should be a flat surface. Okay, so the next job's simple. I need to get it cladded, and I'm going to use this cladding over here. I'm going to cut it on the saw, and I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way up to the top, and that's all going to be B-roll. So roll some B-roll. Smooth. Okay, so as you can see, it's turned out great. It's going to give me a nice backdrop to all my future videos, and it's going to give me a great place to store all my future tools. In a future video, I'm going to apply a coat of finish to it and start mounting my tools and whatnot. I might even add some LEDs along the sides here. But I was just wondering, have you ever done anything like this? Have you ever built a cladding system for your tools on the wall, or something similar project like this? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to know what you've done differently, or what you would suggest for me to do differently in the future. But that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again next week.